Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Get in the game, man. Play the damn game. This is the same thing I've been saying about these cowardly Republicans for years. People love to say, oh, Ted Cruz, he's so courageous, what a guy. But people like Ted Cruz talk a big game. You know, they make it sound nice. Ted Cruz certainly puts a speech together and sounds badass and courageous, but when it really comes down to it, the most he really ever does is write a strongly worded letter. Rasmussen reports actually a couple days ago, after Kevin McCarthy's response to the Georgia indictment, posted this meme. I guess we'll make it the meme of the day, might as well. Best we can do is a strong tweet. I think that meme was actually from the Right to Bear Memes on Twitter. Definitely give that account to follow, by the way, known as the meme plug on Twitter. But anyways, the point that I'm making is that Republicans hold themselves to these sort of arbitrary standards and rules that don't actually apply, while Democrats twist and bend and go completely out of the confines of rules and legitimate process. Maybe it's time to play the game on even playing field. Maybe it's time to play the game that they're playing and not always be 2 steps behind. This is what I've been saying forever. Democrats play dirty. They don't give a you-know-what. They'll launch investigations, but even beyond that, they'll justify their investigations with totally corrupt, totally refuted salacious documents like the Steele dossier, and then they'll use that as the basis to get illegal FISA warrants. If you're dealing with a bully, you can't take a passive approach. You gotta go a little bit on the offensive, you gotta peacock a little bit, and show that you're tough too. Well, for once, it might be happening. It's hard to say if it's a symbolic gesture or if it's real, but following Fulton County DA Fani Willis's ridiculous indictment, some Georgia state senators have signaled that they intend to fight back by launching the first steps to impeach Fani Willis. Good. If there was ever a good reason to remove a rogue prosecutor, this is the best of reasons. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, take a look at this exclusive piece from Breitbart. Georgia state senator takes first step to impeach Trump's Fulton County prosecutor. Georgia State Senator Colton Moore took the first step on Thursday towards impeaching Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis for her actions against former President Donald Trump, a memo exclusively obtained by Breitbart News shows. In a letter to Governor Brian Kemp, Moore announced an initiative to begin an emergency session to conduct a thorough investigation into the actions undertaken by Willis. On Tuesday, a Georgia grand jury indicted Trump on 13 counts. The lawmakers' investigation could lead to defunding Willis's investigation of Trump and/or ultimately impeaching the district attorney. Here's the official statement released. Colton Moore, Georgia State Senator, writes to Governor Brian Kemp, "Dear Governor Kemp, we, the undersigned, being duly elected members of the Georgia House of Representatives and Georgia Senate, and comprising of 3/5 of each respective house, pursuant to Article 4, Section 2, Paragraph 7, hereby certify to you in writing with a copy to the Secretary of State that in our opinion an emergency exists in the affairs of the state, requiring a special session to be convened under that section for all purposes to include without limitation the review and response to the actions of Fani Willis. Sincerely, Colton Moore." Now, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen with this, and I really hope I'm not being hoodwinked once again by another career grifter politician who's just trying to get his name and face in the spotlight, but I'm going to remain positive here, have a positive outlook, and hope that this is real, that it's actually going to happen, and that the decision at the end of the day is going to be put on Brian Kemp's desk. I gotta believe that they're actually going to pursue this, because very simply, it's the right thing to do. Look, I know Brian Kemp is no Trump fan, and a lot of his popularity these days comes from being a neocon. It's kind of interesting, I guess, in a way Georgia is a neocon state. But at some point, you gotta put politics aside, and you gotta just do what is right. You have a rogue Soros prosecutor, a far-left partisan, in an extremely partisan county, doing the corrupt bidding of the DNC to try and imprison the former president of the United States, the current GOP frontrunner and top challenger to the current president of the United States, over a matter of political opinion, because he felt a certain way about a certain topic and tried doing something about it. Totally legally, by the way, totally constitutionally, through legal processes, tried to do everything in his power to audit, signature verify, challenge in the courts, challenge the electors, all of it part of the actual legal challenging process. And we're now seeing the Atlanta GA, somebody who represents a single city, trying to go after the former president of the United States on a RICO charge. I can't think of anything more patently absurd, unjustified, and corrupt. There's literally nothing that anybody could ever say to justify these indictments. I don't care what legal justification hoops you jump through, you simply can't do it. And even if Donald Trump was guilty of some of the stuff that he's being accused of, which I don't believe he is, no other politician who's been actually guilty of these crimes has ever been pursued or prosecuted. Why should the standard change all of a sudden? Why should rogue city prosecutors have the right to interfere in elections? Literally none of it makes sense. When Hillary Clinton was actually guilty of the Espionage Act, James Comey's FBI didn't pursue charges because they didn't want to interfere in an election. They didn't want to make the decision for voters by holding Hillary Clinton accountable. But all of a sudden that standard doesn't apply to Donald Trump because Donald Trump must be stopped. That is clearly the intent. And if you have a method to stop it, you should stop it at any and all cost. For the sake of democracy, for the sake of voters having the right to vote themselves. And most importantly, to stop these Democrat rogue actors from setting a new precedent. To criminalize political opinions, free speech, that's counter to the establishment's will. At the end of the day, that's what this is. Trump had a different opinion, and Trump wanted to legally pursue his interest and what he believed was an injustice, and they're now telling you that that's a criminal act. It's total bogus. We're seeing Democrats weaponize the justice system. There's no other way to describe it. And funnily enough, these absolute hypocrites, actually, Jimmy Dore did a segment on this. We'll probably just play that and then we'll talk about it.
Let's remember what the Democrats did.
He's got the right attorney general in position to do it. We now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies.
This is when they thought Trump was doing it to Joe Biden. Now Joe Biden's doing it to Trump. And it sounds like they're describing what Joe Biden and the Justice Department and all these DAs are doing to Donald Trump. Tell me if it doesn't.
He's got the right attorney general in position to do it. We now know they really have been trying to gin up criminal prosecutions and criminal investigations into the president's perceived enemies, politically motivated persecution, right? Courtesy of Bill Barr. I'll roll in the FBI on you. That's how banana republics work, right?
The home of the 45th president of the United States has been raided by the FBI.
When it was perceived at the time that that's what Donald Trump was doing, with the Ukrainian phone call that Democrats totally misrepresented, it was Trump weaponizing the DOJ and attorney generals to go after his political opponents. When it's actually happening in the other direction, it's justice. It's the justice system working impartially and following the facts. Give me a break. Defund Fani Willis's unconstitutional, bogus investigation and indictment. And while you're at it, impeach her too. Not because it's the partisan thing to do, but very simply because it's the right thing to do. I'm curious to see what Governor Kemp would do in that position. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. You know that we'd love to have you here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.